Hello, this is Monsoon117, and this video will be detailing the attribute leveling system in my web novel, The New World. This video is also part of a series of videos I'm trying to make to clarify a lot of the more complex elements of the RPG system inside of my web novel. So, let's get started. This is going to be a series of 20 levels, and the first is going to be for a normal person, and the second is going to be for Daniel. So, the normal person in the schema system gets 20 attribute points per 20 levels. So, something to note is that they also get 4 perk points. So, every 5 level ups, you get a perk point that if you don't have a perk to invest it into, you basically just get a free attribute point. So, basically it comes out to 6 attributes per 5 levels. And in the case of the dungeon cores, 25% of your total level, you can obtain that as dungeon cores. So if you're level 20, you can get 5 dungeon cores, and that will help you get 5 attribute points. So I put that here, which means the average person ends up with 29 attributes every 20 levels. And this is a normal person in the schema system. Once again, I apologize for my horrific handwriting. I'm trying to get better, and I'm kind of looking at these videos as a way of, managing that. So, hopefully it's not too bad. But regardless, now this is 20 levels for Daniel Hillside. So, in case you guys didn't remember his last name, it's Hillside. So, he gets 20 attributes, just like anyone else, 4 perk points, and 5 dungeon cores. So that's 29 right there. But he also gets an extra 16 per 20 levels from Obliterator 1. So the Obliterator tree, Obliterator 1 tree, gives him 4 extra attribute points per 5 levels. So if it's level 20, that's 4 sets of 5, 16. So not too complex yet. But it's easy to forget this stuff because it's 1,700 pages, and a lot of you guys are keeping up with the story as I write it. So then we have Genesis of Potential. So this is a tree that gave Daniel an extra 4 level 100 perks, and Genesis of Potential also doubles the amount of dungeon cores he can absorb. So now he can absorb 50% of his total level in the form of dungeon cores, and that gives him extra attribute points. So we move on to the Obliterator 2 tree. That's 40 extra attribute points, and that is the big one. So that's the one he got for killing the Ouroboros, which was basically a sort of spiritual godlike animal that was infected by the Eldritch that was a part of Hod's homeworld. So I based that concept of that creature on the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its tail. So basically just a giant sandworm. And Obliterator, 40 points in Obliterator 2. And then he also gets 2 points into Constitution from the Titan Slayer tree, which basically just converts 10% of his level into free Constitution. So he gets 92. He gets 92 attribute points every 20 levels. So that's a lot. That's a lot of attribute points. To note, though, it's very, very difficult for Daniel to keep up his dungeon core absorption with his leveling up. So right now in the story, for example, I don't even think he has. I have it logged, but he doesn't even have half of his dungeon cores absorbed that he could have absorbed. So that's a huge portion of attributes that he could get for free right there. Second off, he also other people can get the exact same kind of bonuses that Daniel can get. Yalm's a perfect example. He got both Obliterator trees and Genesis of Potential as well, among other things. So it isn't like Daniel's the only person with these ridiculous power-ups. So Althea, Torix, all those people, they have these kind of bonuses as well. Creating stat sheets for them would take a tremendous level of time. So the main reason that Daniel has so many extra attribute points, though, on the actual stat sheet is partially because of this bonus, 92 per 20 levels. That's a lot more than 29 of the average person. But the thing is that makes it so apparent is how he's been so religious with how, or damn near religious with how he's invested into endurance. Because endurance, it does that feed thing where a portion of endurance is given to willpower, and a portion of willpower is given to intelligence, which is given to blah, blah, blah. And that feeding of stats, feeding is what I like to call it, that gives him extra free stats. And because he has been he's blocked all the voices, all those concerns in his head that are just like, okay, man, you probably need to put some points in this strength right now. He's like, no, I did the math, have faith, just stick with it. So what happens is he ends up with a lot more attribute points than most people because he was so stout in that belief and he stuck with it. So definitely something to be aware of. So it's not just because he got a bunch of trees and stuff like that. And to further emphasize, it isn't like Daniel's the only person that gets that. So that's something that people seem to not be aware of. So it isn't like the Obliterator 1 tree is that uncommon. So, I mean, it's relatively common. It's relatively uncommon. But if it's 1 out of 1,000 people, well, there's a lot more than 1,000 people in Schema's system. There's more like trillions. So, 1,000th of a trillion is a billion. So if there's a billion people who's gotten the Obliterator 1 tree, that sort of emphasizes that it's not insanely uncommon to meet people who have more attribute points per 5 levels than, or per their normal leveling up scheming system that Schema has. That's not that uncommon to see. So hopefully this video clarified a few questions for you guys about this specific aspect of the story, and hopefully you guys will like my next video about how the attributes feed together and my analysis on that. So Monsoon17 out, and see you guys.